Hello, Internet. Today, I have to speak my mind about what happened earlier this week in Charlottesville, Virginia, and the debate about free speech that followed it. Just to recap, earlier this week in Charlottesville, Virginia, a bunch of white supremacists, neo-Nazis, and white nationalists held up protests protesting the removal of Confederate statues throughout the country. They were counter-protested by people protesting white nationalism. Several fights broke out, culminating in the death of Heather Heyer as a white nationalist drove his car into a crowd of counter-protesters. First off, these white nationalists disgust me. Short of legitimate mental illness, there is nothing that justifies the racism and blind bigotry that they promote. They should be fought at every turn. Now, I don't support violence, but we need to do everything else we can to oppose and condemn this overt white supremacy in any form, as well as the more subtle varieties that continue to thrive and distort the true freedoms that are our American ideals. And also, the fact that the President of the United States refused to condemn white nationalism sickens me. Thankfully, I don't know anyone who espouses those white supremacist feelings, at least not in that extreme form. And I think it's fair to say that the majority of Americans feel the same way I do about white nationalism. As a country, we've come a long way. That being said, we've still got a long way to go. As individuals, we need to be a lot better at recognizing and condemning the small racisms in our lives more vocally. The slightly racist jokes, the damaging stereotypes, the shameful assumptions that cause black men to be sentenced 20% longer than white men for the exact same crimes, not to mention the plethora of other injustices in our social and judicial systems. These are the small things that allow white nationalism to survive, and we need to confront these small things until they don't exist. But what about free speech, people say? You can't stop them from saying what it is they believe. In a way, they're right. The Supreme Court of the United States has repeatedly affirmed that the First Amendment defends even the expression of disgusting beliefs like those held by white nationalists. The group protesting had received the permits they needed to be there, and therefore they had the right to peaceably assemble. That being said, I think that we need to reconsider what free speech means. I mean, what is it free from, or what is it free for? Personally, I don't think that it should mean that you're free from the consequences of your words. Take the Second Amendment, for example. It gives you the right to bear arms. It doesn't give you the right to use them against whoever you want. I think we need to start looking at the First Amendment the same way. Though even the expression of vile opinions like those held by white nationalists are protected by the First Amendment, people still need to be held responsible for the damage their words cause. For anyone getting defensive and thinking that I want to erode the First Amendment, I don't. In fact, these laws already exist in relation to a variety of aspects of the First Amendment. A perfect example are the laws that prevent libel and defamation. They limit free speech to defend the greater freedoms of the American people. Another example are regulations that prohibit certain kinds of language on public television. Even public decency laws limit personal expression. Though these laws and regulations already exist, somehow people forget or dismiss them when someone suggests that we apply them to more than just a specific group of religious and economic interests. Why? Why is defamation a problem when you're getting divorced, but doesn't matter when an entire race is being vilified on the street? Why do people bemoan political correctness when all it really boils down to is speaking about different groups with respect? Though there may be no good way to legislate this kind of respectful discourse, as a society, we need to do something about it. The freedom of speech is something that I value greatly, and it's a principle central to the complex discourse we need to have to overcome the challenges and obstacles that confront us in this world. But I think it's time that we start demanding that those who exercise their free speech are responsible for what their words do. I'll see you next time.